In regard to personal hygiene on trail, just be aware that, if you're not showering for a week at a time, if your feet are constantly soaking wet and you're putting the same dirty, wet sock on, you can get things like trench foot, which is super painful at times, super agitating, and you're hiking on it, you don't want to deal with trench foot. If you're constantly covered in dirt and salt from your sweat, then your pack's gonna rub on you and chafe, and you're gonna want to clean your body, you're gonna want to clean your clothes, you're gonna want to clean your gear from time to time to prevent these kinds of things from affecting the way your body's performing. In terms of how to keep yourself clean on trail, you can wipe your feet down with baby wipes at night. You can take frequent dips in, lakes or creeks and just kind of rub your body from all the salt and wring your clothes out. And you're gonna sweat so much that everything is gonna start getting salty and gross. So do your best to kind of wring out all that dirt and grime, and it's just gonna prevent your body from getting like sores and getting chafage and all that kind of thing. So you'll learn what's best for you as your body is kind of going through it for the first few weeks, but certainly worth taking care of your body while you're out there.
Definitely make sure if you're washing up in backcountry sources of water, you don't use soap. And if you're going to wring your clothes out, wring that out on the ground. Don't wring it directly into the water source. You don't really want to be introducing a lot of additional sediment into the water, and you just want to minimize the amount of like sunscreen and bug spray that you're also getting into the water, because those are detrimental to the plants and animals also in the water. If you do want to use soap to do a more thorough cleanup in the backcountry, which a lot of people do like to do, whether they use like a little Ziploc bag or something, a squirt bottle with water and soap, make sure you're doing that at least 200 feet from water. Don't get that soapy water into a water source at all.
And try to use soap that is natural and not filled with chemicals if you're going to be doing
biodegradable water source. Biodegradable soap.
Yeah.
Something like a Dr. Bronner's.
Yep. Mm-hmm. I think lastly, but not leastly, you need to be aware of ticks. Because ticks in various parts of the country can carry Lyme disease. And that is something that can be easily overlooked, because in some cases, some of these ticks are so tiny, they're almost imperceivable to the human eye. If you are hiking alone, if you are a bearded person like me, these ticks can find their way into places that you cannot see. And it's really, really important to do tick checks on yourself as best you can. They can be tucked in your waistline, they can be tucked into your socks, they can be up under your grundle, they can be in places that you literally don't know. You need to be aware of the signs of what the onset of Lyme disease can look like. And it really starts with the tick bite, and it looks like a bullseye. And so there's an infected area at the bite and then a ring around that. And that's a telltale sign of Lyme disease and a tick bite. Then the physiological effects can feel like intense aching and muscle soreness, fatigue, just kind of feeling flu-like symptoms. You're in Lyme disease country and tick country, and you're starting to feel like this, start looking for a bite, and certainly get to a doctor as soon as you can and get it treated as soon as possible, because you can cure it with medication, but if it runs its course, the sickness runs its course, and the sickness goes away, you might find yourself having Lyme disease for the rest of your life and be dealing with severe pain and migraines and all kinds of other medical conditions that kind of come with the complications of having Lyme disease.
And bear in mind, you may not always have the bullseye rash. You may simply have flu-like symptoms, or you may have very little symptoms at all. I mean, that's why it's really key to check for the ticks. I know people who never even had symptoms, and they had Lyme disease because the symptoms were so mild they didn't notice them. In addition, I definitely recommend preventative measures such as treating your clothing with permethrin. It's an FDA-approved chemical you can treat your clothing with, and it'll last, I believe it's like to 6 weeks in multiple washings. It's something that you just spray on your clothes, and it basically kills ticks that get on there. It repels ticks. So I always treat, anytime I'm hiking on the East Coast, I treat my clothing, my shoes, my socks with permethrin, and then I wear picaridin on my exposed skin just to make it even harder for ticks to go on there. If you don't like the idea of using chemicals, the old trick from the deep south that I've learned down there is to get a chunk of sulfur, put it in an old sock, and you just like hit it against you. You're going to smell like rotten eggs, but it's like a very effective chigger and tick repellent as well if you don't want to use a chemical methodology.